Well, hello and welcome. The purpose of this video it will be to show you the way that I use the wideband. The one I prefer for most tuning because it's affordable, it's reliable, or it's been reliable for me and everyone that I've recommended it to. It's the AEM 30-0334. And the reason I like that particular one from AEM is because it has three outputs that you could use. It has CAN bus, which is very convenient on any vehicle 2008 and up, GM platform and so on. And it has serial, which, is very nice that it's built in. So you could use it on the older vehicles, like the C5 Corvette or, anything that's older than 2008. So the analog output is the third output. I don't like to use that because since I do quite a bit of tuning and I'm changing vehicles, it's a hassle basically to go in there and keep adjusting the inputs for different noise levels on the scanner, so it becomes a hassle. So in this video I'm going to show you what I do to use on this one with this one sensor, the 0334, the 30-0334, that you could use the CAN bus and the serial output and what needs to be done to use that. You're going to get much better results using anything that's digital, and you have the immunity from noise in the vehicle from the alternator and ground loops or whatever. It's going to vary from vehicle to vehicle, and that's going to offset your air fuel on the way it's displayed on the HP Tuner scanner. So here we go. First thing I'm going to do is actually show you the parts you need. There's two different ways you can go. One is if you're going to install the wideband in the car permanently. I'll show you that. That's the simplest one. And the next one after that is a little box that I make that I put the wideband in it because from moving it around from vehicle to vehicle, the wires tend to break off and, it's a hassle. So I'm going to show you what I do when I tune the box that I made, and I've made this box for a few shops that I tuned for as well. And it's very convenient because you could, easily move it from vehicle to vehicle. It has pretty decent connectors on it that are pretty robust, even though they're not too expensive. They're much better than using the little tiny, dual inline pin connectors that are on the back of the sensor with small wires that are very fragile. So I'll show you both ways, and I'm going to show you here the parts you need for the the installation in the vehicle. I'm not going to show you the installation in the vehicle because that's it's just basically what you have to wire to use either the serial output or the CAN bus output. The CAN bus is pretty easy. You just plug it in basically, and here we go. Okay, so this is what you're going to need to do the installation on anything older than 2008. So all the way through 2007 for the serial coming out of the AEM 0334 wideband. So you need a USB to serial cable, which is right here. These cables come in, I believe it's 2.5, 6 foot, and 10 foot lengths. So you could pick which one you want. I typically pick the shortest one if I'm doing it in the box that we'll be doing on the next part of the video, and then where I'll pick either the 6 or the 10 if it's going to be installed in the vehicle. And then you need this terminal block here. This is just a terminal blocks. The wires that come out of the AEM 0334, the serial output. All you need is a ground, and you're going to need the TX pin coming out of it. That's going to go into here, and I'll show you where to put that. And then obviously this plugs into that, and then this goes to your laptop. and I'll show you how to set it up to read serial coming out of this wideband. So yeah, I'm leaving links of everything down below. The other thing you'll need is pins, which I have a link off of Amazon. Now these I bought from DigiKey a long time ago, back in 2020, and this I bought a while ago. It's an iWiz, part number SN-2549. Now this is not available in iWiz anymore. It's something called iCrimp, which is probably the same thing, same company, just changed the name or whatever, and that's available in Amazon. So I'll zoom in on that. So you have both of these. So this is the pins and the part number, but I have a link from Amazon as well for these. And this is the, let me see, focus. That's the iWiz part number. So that you'll need to crimp a wire that's going to go into a connector in the back of the wideband here. Alright, so let's get moving on the next part of the video. Okay, so what we're going to do next here is just put a pin on here, and I'll show you where to install it. So this is a printout from the wiring diagram from the 30-0334 wideband, and we're basically going to go, you see here you have pin 5, which is the serial output. So that's a TX pin on the wideband. That's going to go to the RX pin on this adapter here. So I'm going to take it out. So you're going to go to pin 2 where it says RX. So if you go to here, you're going to go right there to pin 2, which is the second guy here, and you're going to use this guy for ground, which is pin 5. So let's do that. Alright, so this wire that I'm using is very flexible. This is I put a link down below. This is a silicone wire. The insulation is silicone, so it's high voltage, high temperature, and it's also a high count strand, strand count on the wire, so it makes it very flexible. So I'll show you why later when we make this box, because the lid opens and closes all the time, so you want something that's flexible, it's not going to break on you. So let's get a clean cut here. Throw that there. And we're going to just strip very little of it. This is a 22 gauge wire. So all we're going to do, so let me zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing a little better. Okay, so you can see here the amount that I zoom a little closer. That's about it. That gives you an idea how much I stripped off. So now I'm going to grab one of these pins. They typically come in a reel like this, and I'm going to cut this, throw that out, and then we're gonna cut this pin here, flush in the back. Okay, and put that away later. So now we grab our tool here, and what you want to do is close it till about there. Okay, and all you're going to do is drop the pin in there, so it sits in there like that. You have to make sure that that little winglet does not stick out. It's got to go in there. We're going to have to close them. So what you do is you close these a little bit, and then drop it in again. Okay, now it's in there, and then you want to pull it towards, towards the bottom a little bit. And then you close it a little more, and a little more, and you stop right about there. Then you're going to put the wire here and push it, and you want to see the other end of the wire come out of the other side a little bit. It's hard to see, but it's there. It's on there. And then you just crimp it. Now when you crimp it, a lot of times these are cheap crimpers, so it'll do that to the pin. It'll bend it like that. So what I do is I hold the back like this, and with my thumb I straighten it out a little bit until the pin is pretty straight, like this. And then you're gonna pull this out, and we're going to go to, we're going to insert that in pin 5, which is the top one there in the center. So we're going, here is what it should look like after it's crimped. And now I'm just going to click it in place here. So oops. So that goes with the tab up like that. And nope, did not click. What happens is when you use the silicone wire, it's a little tough to get it in there because the silicone wire is super flexible and does not, it just bends basically, but then I just help it along with this guy here and get it in there. I just want to catch that edge, and that's it, and make sure that the pin is there, and it looks like it is. So it should be locked. Yep, we're good. I'm going to peel some of this back, strip that. If you just strip them apart like that and you put the wire there, then you're going to have to tape it. This way I could actually use heat shrink instead. This has to be a little longer. Okay. These guys go together. Okay. Then I'm going to take a little bit of heat shrink. This keeps on drifting on me. So I'm going to grab some heat shrink that I have here. That's going to go on this guy because he's a little longer. Now what I'm going to have to do is put him on this side, because what's going to happen is when I solder that, that's going to start shrinking down. You got to be careful when you do this so you don't cut the wire also. Okay, that should be more than enough. Now we cut the excess off. Okay, so now we got plenty of room to stick the heat shrink in there. And that's far away from where you're going to solder. And then we're going to take this guy and tie it to this guy. And what I like to do is, it doesn't take up a lot of room. You can just twist them together, but what I like to do is do this. And then you hold it tight, and then you do this side. And what that does is it gives you something that's not going to get in, you know, stick out too much or whatever. So now I'm getting the soldering iron ready. And we're going to solder this. So what I like to do is I like to put a little bit of flux on it. You don't have to, because the solder has flux already. But when you put flux on it, additional flux, it helps the solder flow, and it gets rid of the oxidation. So now this is pretty hot. Let me just clean the tip. This is already hot. That's all you need. Okay. So that's all the solder you're going to need. And then you just put this over it. And let me turn on this to shrink it. You could shrink it with a lighter, just as long as you're not putting the flame directly on it. Let me increase the temperature. Okay. Okay, that should do it. Alright, so now you have your two wires coming out. So this obviously gets plugged into here. And these two guys, what you're going to do is you're going to strip about this much. Okay. Then what you're going to do, so I usually put something on it like that, so it puts weight on it. So they come up, and I just tin them. That's so that the wires don't fray too much. Now what you want to do also is you could take a little bit of alcohol to get that excess flux off, because that's going to create a bad contact, or could. So I got a little bit of alcohol. Clean that off. Same thing here. Okay. And then you just trim these back a little bit, because these are kind of long. And same thing here. Okay, so now what you're going to do, so I got to look for my screwdriver. There it is. Okay, so you're going to go, the blue wire is going to go to pin 2. And the black wire is going to go to pin 5 that says ground on it. Okay, so this guy goes pin 2. Hold them there. And then pin, this guy goes there. And that's it. This is all you need to do to have it work in your vehicle as a serial output. You're not using the CAN bus because the vehicle doesn't have CAN bus on the older ones. And you don't have to use the analog outputs, which could give you a lot of problems with offsets and things like that, and you have to constantly calibrate and things like of that nature. This is going to give you whatever the reading is on the display. This is what you're going to see on the scanner software from HP Tuners. Well, that's it for this little part, and I'm going to go on to making this into this, which is my beaten up old tuning box. You can see how dirty it is. And when I open it, basically it's got the gauge there, a little storage, there's the same little box, there's the serial adapter, and then I have the OBD2 CAN bus also. So in other words, this is long enough. I actually extended this because some of these wires are pretty short. So when I'm tuning something that's an 08, let me zoom out. When I'm tuning something that's an 08 and newer, I just plug this. This is the 5-pin. These are all different size pins, so that way you can't make a mistake. So this one goes into that, and then I use the 4-pin, which is where the power comes in to the unit. And then when I'm tuning, let's say, an older car, then I'll use obviously the 12 volts coming in here, and I'll use this output, which is a USB B output. And this one's always going to go to the wideband. So that's what I'll be doing. And this is part of the beginning of that video for putting it in this box. And all this box is, I put a link down below. It's just a humidor, cigar humidor. But it's got a nice seal on it. Not that it has to be waterproof, but it's nice to have that seal on there. The plastic is pretty thick and it's not very brittle. So I like these for that purpose, and it's just the right size. So alright, so we're going to begin part of that video. I already cut these wires, which we're going to hook up to this style connector on the inside of the box, and then make the wires on the outside of the box as well. Okay, so let's start building the box. For this, you're going to need a 2-inch hole saw. I'm using here, I think it used to be, it is a Milwaukee, which is a pretty good brand. It's a 2-inch hole saw. You're going into plastic, that doesn't matter too much. And then you're also going to need some uni-bits to drill the holes for the connectors here. And I have the different types that I'm going to be using. I have basically, these are the aviation connectors. This is a 5-pin. This is the 8-pin, which is the hardest one because the pins are real close. And this is a 4-pin, which the pins are a little bit bigger, and this is the one I use for power coming in. And then you have the USB. It's USB A and USB B on the outside. And the first thing I'm going to do is take that sticker off, or whatever that is. So sometimes it's better to heat it up, but let me see if it comes up. It's coming. And it's out. Now, how you get that glue off, what I found that works good since I am a cigar smoker, is you use some benzene. It does not harm the plastic, and it'll take it right off. Okay. So now I use this thing, which is like a plastic. And when the benzene mixes with this, which is lighter fluid, basically, it just dissolves it. You don't have to do this, but I don't want that sticker on there. Okay, I'm going to need a little bit more. Let me get this off of here. I do a lot of electronic stuff, so I have all these things for electronics, for cleaning circuit boards and whatnot. So add a little more. Actually, if I close it, half of it won't spill on the outside. There it is. And that's it. And there you go, like it was never there. Let me just dry this up. We don't want to start a fire either. Alright, so that's done. Let me get the benzene out of the way. The next thing I want to do is, that makes it a little bit on the slippery side. So then I use a little isopropyl alcohol. This is 99%. You can buy this at pharmacy or whatever. And that takes any oils off. And then wait for it to evaporate, which is fairly quick since it is alcohol. You could fast forward through all this if you want, or play it at faster speed. Now we're going to do some more area. What we're going to do is now a wide band on one side, not necessarily the center. But in this case, we're going to change it to the center, right there. Okay, and we're going to measure what the center is. And for that, we do a ruler. I have to use calipers. So basically, from here to here, we have 48.87 millimeters. So we're going to have that. So 24 and a half is good. 24. No, that was good. 24 and a half. That pencil. That pencil will work. And we're going to go about halfway. This is going to be here, in this direction. And then we're going to go the other way. From here to here, we have about 138.4. So, 138 divided by 2 is 69. So we go 69. Close to 69 there. And this is our other direction right here. So that is our center. Close to center. Okay, so now we're going to do this wall. So we're going to drill a small hole. We'll fire all this out here. And I'm going to center it best I could. And drill away. Let me turn this on here. Yep. I'm going to start with a small hole. And I use this to go there. That's good enough there. Then, I'm going to take that off. Put this back on. Put it on here and you go real slow. And that's going to turn over, so you want to make sure you're flat. And we're going to pull this. Oh, now go backwards. There we go. I put it into our fire. Then we're through. Alright, now we're going to mess up. We're going to screw our opposite. Okay. Okay. Alright. Next is, we're going to invert this a little bit. Take the plastic off. Take off. Okay, kind of, we did that, but I can invert it a little bit. If I remember correctly, I have to shake more off. Put it in here. Okay. So now, I believe that this has to be a little larger. Maybe not. No, it's not. Okay, so we're good. Alright, so the next thing to do is, well, it does, yeah, I do have to make it a little larger. I can use a drum a little bit. That's why you just gotta go a little bit at a time. It's not much, you have to do. Alright, let's see how much I gotta go. So this is inside here we have 51.92, and here we have 52, 51.7, 51.8 runs there. Let's check the one on this side. Not much of it. There we go. It's right there. So make sure that it fits inside that little bit. Okay, so that's that. And then the next thing I'll do is split this down. And the other thing I do is, I don't tighten this too much. That way, I'm going to be able to just like this, I can rotate it like that, or I can rotate it like that, so I leave this on the side. And next is, we're going to, again, back it out a little. Sorry about the noise. And the next thing I'm going to do is figure out where we want to put it now. Since it turns on like that, we want to have these connectors in this wall here, that way. Because if you have it over here, then it's going to be a problem. You do it here or on the sides. So, I think on this one, I'm going to do on the sides. I'm going to have the wideband, which is 8 pin, and the power on this side, and then the canvas will be this side, this side, and the serial will be on this side also. So we'll put that on that side, this side. Now we got to figure out what layer. We're going to do this right here. I'll start with the power here. Power is the easiest one, so I'm going to undo this. This plugs, like so, and then we have to measure this. This is what size hole we're going to have to drill. So we're going to go here like that, and it's 15.5. Now we don't have a 15.5 drill. Or even if it has a 15.5, I have a 15.8 millimeter, okay? And that'll work just fine, just 5/8. So we'll put this on the drill, and we're going to line up the holes first. Same deal. So here, we're going to put, make sure you got enough room on the inside zone. So we're going to put one here, and the other guy. So we're going to have one there on the inside. So let's go take it again. You want to put 2 lobes in order to get to, and and we'll wrap it on the other side. Okay. So this, we're going to find more or less what the midpoint is. So let's find out. This from here to here is approximately 60 to 30 for the height. Okay, so they're there, and they're there. Okay, so now we're going to run a line across. Right there, right there. Okay, so we're going to line across, so I'm going to do the same 30. We're going to get 30, and we're going to get 30, and we're going to line across that. So just right. Alright, so now we have a gap between both of them. Now these, worst case scenario, from point to point, we have a nut, we're going to have to rotate. It's about 21.5. Yeah, 21.5. So you want to be on the inside, you should have clearance, just flat on the inside, and it is kind of flat. So I guess the outside I worry about. So the outside is 18. Okay, so we have to be away from the wall here. We have to be away from that wall half that minimum. So let's go with 10. Away from the wall, so I don't want to get too close to each other either. So we'll go with 10. But it is 1 millimeter on the other side. So we go with 10 on the edge of that, right there. So this is it here. So we're going to drill our hole right there, and right there, right there. Okay, so I'm going to do the same on this side. Not really, just be this side. We have this guy, which is bigger. So I'll do 10 on one side. And this guy. This guy, that's your 19 point. No, that's even better. It's 25.5. Yeah, 25.5, 26. So I got a 13 away from the wall. That's what it looks like. So I got a 13. So 13 and a half. I'm sure you can get 13 and a half too. Okay, so we're going to go over this there. And then just through here. Now, to find out if we're going to be okay, I'll center this guy here. Like that. I'm going to stand up. I center this guy like that. You get an idea if I'm going to be okay or not. And I'll center this guy here. Yeah, we should just have to sniff him for both of them. Yeah, right there. Right there. Right there. Okay. So let's drill. I'm going to see if I have here for this guy. I have to drill. 21.8. So am I small? Am I small? Wait, I'm going to high, so I can yeah, this is 18. I'll start with that one. This is way up this one. So I have 0.2. That's 7/8. Yes, I gotta go 7/8. Which is 0.2. 22.13 versus 1.9 plus 1. So let's start drilling. Okay, so that one all the way through. I'm going to finish off with 7/8. So I'll do that. Alright. So I'll make sure. Measure twice, cut once. 22.7 right there. Okay. Let's see how this fits. Push it forward in. A little tight, but yeah, going. Yeah, that's not that bad. Okay, so now we're going to do a small guy. This one just check again. There's a flat side you got to be careful. This is 15.5. And I should be able to do a small drill. Which is 5/8, I think. 15.8. So what does that say? Can't see it. That's 9/16, so 5/8. Not 5/8. Okay, so we're going to go 5/8 on all of them. So, we've got a drill. We hold this guy. Put this little guy in. Okay, and then we're going to drill the 5/8 hole. We stop and clear the out. Okay, so 5/8 is 1, 2, 3, 3 from the back. 3 from the back. Okay. Okay, so it's silver, black, black. So I got silver, black, black. Okay, so that's for the width. A little more. Silver, black. Okay. A little bit still. Okay. I'm sure that this is not thick enough. Okay, so the camera stopped recording, but all you missed was the last 2 holes there, and me vacuuming out the rest of the area here. So now we're just going to take this away. Right, so we're done with the drilling and the noise and all that stuff. And this is going to be quite a long video. So you could fast forward through all this. Okay, so that's that guy. Then I got to do this side. Okay, one last little bit of noise, just cleaning the inside of this. Alright, last bit of noise. Alright, that's enough noise. Alright. So the next thing is to mount everything. Or actually, the only one I can mount is this guy, which is the big connector here, because I need to wire the plugs outside through the hole. I got to run the wires through the holes, and then wire the or solder the wires onto the connectors out here, because doing it in here is next to impossible. So for that, I'm probably going to stop the video until I get to that point. And you want to make sure this is nice and straight, so James could appreciate the work, because this is going to a friend of mine that I do tuning for in South Carolina, in Myrtle Beach. And I just want to make sure it's all good. These don't have to be that tight. Because a lot of these things are plastic and such, but that's good enough there. Okay. And then what we're going to do next is plug it in to see how much wire we have. What did I do with that? Here it is, right here. So we're going to plug this guy in. So this guy basically just plugs into here, like that, and it stays in there, nothing else. And then this guy gets plugged into here, whoops, down here, wrong plug. Okay, and then these wires, these are the wires that go to the CAN bus. This brown, and let me separate these guys here. You get this out of here, this out of there, and this out of there. So this is my power and ground. Okay, that's going to go through here. And then these guys are going to go through here. Now these guys you want to twist. It's a differential pair. And you want them both picking up the same amount of noise. So you twist them. And you stick them through this hole. And this will neaten up later with tie wraps and such. And then I'll stop here until I get ready with the plugs and a way to hold the plugs so I could solder them and so on. Now what I did is I also have this printed out, and what this is the way I do all of them. Now unfortunately I got 2 pins, 3 pins, and so on, which I don't have in here, but I do use the 4 pin, I do use the 5 pin, and I do use the 8 pin. So here's the 8 pin. So let me zoom in a little bit more. Actually you can see it there. I don't have to zoom in much. So this is the connector for the wideband. This is the connector for the cam, and if we want to use the analogs, I don't use the analogs at all, so it's just the 2 wires on here for the CAN. And this 4-pin one is the 12 volt, which you could double up if you want, but I just use these 2 because these widebands, when you first turn them on, I think it was like 2 amps or something like that when it's really cold, and then they drop down to about 1 amp or less, so they don't draw a lot of current, so they don't need a lot of very thick wires or anything like that. So, but this is my layout. In other words, on the 4-pin connector, I always tie the red one to pin 1, the black one, which is ground, power coming in to pin 4. Here's the layout for the 8 pins, which is green over here, white over here, orange here, red here, black here, and brown here. That goes to the wideband, and that's the same colors on the cable. And then over here is just the green can goes to the green can plus, the plus side of the CAN bus goes to pin 5, and the brown goes to pin 4, and that's it. That's all you're going to do on this side. So that's what I'll be doing next. So I'm going to stop it here and get ready to solder. Okay, we're ready to start soldering. Now, one thing to keep in mind that I almost made a mistake on is putting this nut through here first with this washer, and then it comes out of here. Now, this is not long enough to work, obviously, but if you disconnected from the wideband, then we got plenty of room. So now the first thing I'm going to do is strip it. Okay. Next thing, let me turn the soldering iron on. Next thing I'm going to do. Okay, so this is pin. Let me bring you closer. Okay. This is pin 4. This is pin 5 on the 5-pin connector. So pin 4 on the 5-pin connector is the brown wire. So we're going to do the brown wire. But I should have enough for this job. Okay. So brown goes on 4. Reflex on there. Okay. If you notice, what I'm doing is I'm heating the pin on the outside, and then just that's it, and then you hold it steady, and that's it. Make sure you don't move it until the solder solidifies. Then you put these on. Now I did. And then you heat shrink it. Okay, so that's one down. Okay, you pull that through, and you're able to put on the. That's pretty fit. Okay, so I'm going to tighten all those later. Just finish the wiring part. Okay, so same thing goes. I'm going to do this side. So I'm going to run these through here first. First the nut, then the washer, or the so-called washer. Then it goes through the hole. And this is going to be the 4-pin. I'm going to box the other way. I grab the 4 pins. I'm going to the 4 pin. We're going to go. Pin 4 is round and pin 1 is false. So number 4 pin 1 and 4 right there. So we'll go on top. So same thing like that. We'll heat shrink. Okay. So one goes on the red wire, one goes on the black wire. Okay, so we'll solder pin 4, which is this guy here. It's going to be the black wire on. So we strip it. Just do both of them. Once you get past this point, it'll be a little quicker. Okay. These pins are semi-open, so you don't want to put all the solder on. Okay. So pin 4 is this guy. Make sure the heater's on. Okay. that's that. So now what we're going to do is take control of these. And sure. Okay. So now this will come out. All goes to there. Like this. I'm going to put the washer in the mud. People can't see the camera forward. Alright, so that's this guy here. So basically everything on the connector is done. So you put that in. Okay, that's in there. Now the next thing we're going to do is going to be the wideband connector. And the wideband connector we're going to need about pretty much. So for that, what we do is put the connector right here. Okay, and how I get these to open up, and I have to start on later on, is I use these to separate the outside. See that? And then I have to wash them this guy. Now this unfortunately is because I stick the hole with that. So I'm worried about washing and all that stuff. We put this thing out of the way here. Okay, so that guy. This is a hard one. All three of these are 8 pin ones. Okay, so this actually fits through here. I'm going to do this afterwards. But I do need to get this over. So I'll do that here. Move them out a little bit. So I do sections like this. Now I'm going to take all the way off because they'll get the wire will be more flexible. We'll have this outside the door on it. Okay, so now just take these off. Bring an ashtray, so I'm just going to the door. And we'll start burning this plastic in the ashtray. Okay, so we got it. So now we're going to strip all these. I'm going to put it here. This is the 8 pin. And we're going to start with the center one. And pin 1 is on top. So pin 1 is on top. Okay, so we're going to start with this. That's good enough. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do is start stripping wires. Now these are small, you should be able to use the smaller of the heat shrinks. Yeah, these should be okay. So that's it. So let's use the round one is the first one, which is the center pin. So let's do that by itself to make sure that you turn the wires okay. Okay, so I'm going to snap it right here. Right there, I think. Alright, you clean this tip. What's on there? Okay. Should be 10 of these wires. I'm not going to do that. It makes it a lot easier. Alright, so I'm going to each one, okay. And that is not enough. Okay. See if I can wash that down. And then take it up. Yes, that's fine. That's good. Let me check this out here. That's actually terrible. What I'm going to do is, this tip's too big, I have to change it. There we go. Take 2. This tip's too big. Alright. Maybe there's a little bit. Oh, sorry. You're not going to fit that tipper. Just a bit in there. Okay, so that's that guy. So let me check that. Okay, so round 1. I should go around pin 1. To make sure what pin 1 is. There it is. Pin 1 is this guy. So pin 1 is the ring wire. So let me put some heat shrink on the ring wire. Okay. Pin 1 is there. Okay, so we're going to put some solder on it. And that's 3. Okay, now we're going to turn this. Then we're going to put it in here. Right over now. A little more solder. Okay, so now we're going to do pin 2, and pin 2 is white. And get some more heat shrink. So we're going to need 4 more pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's white. So we're going to strip it. We're going to thin it. We're going to strip the whole. Put the heat shrink out. There we go. Okay. Put the camera on the top again. I just want to get out without boring. But you fast forward through it. Okay. So now we're going to put some of that on there, put some of that on there, put some of that on there. Okay. So we're going to tin all these. You don't really have to tin it, but it makes it look a little easier than the wires on the fray out. Okay, so next to green is white, so we're going to do it right here. That was done. Now to make it easier, you want to rotate it. Okay. Next one is orange. And the next one is pin. So orange should be pin 3, and it is. Pin 4 does not get used, and then pin 5 I'm going to go all the way around. Pin 5 is 6. Okay. So pin 5. Pin 5. So 6. Okay, so pin 5 is that right up. So that's pin 5. And the last pin is pin 6. Right here. Okay, so next is, put some solder in there. Pin 5 is red. And then pin 6 is here. And pin 6 is black. That's as well. Pin 6 is here. Pin 6 is here. And that's it. I'm just going to heat shrink on it. Heat shrink. Okay, so we'll do this guy here. Okay, we're going to do this guy here. We're going to do the orange. We're going to do the orange. We're going to do the orange. And we're going to do the white. And that's all it's on the heat shrink. Okay, so there should be, we just found everything correct. Okay, so brown is the center. And then we start with green. That's up to you guys. We got plus on the pin 1. Pin 1 is green. Pin 2 is white. Pin 3 is orange. We skip a pin. And then pin 5. That's 5 is red. Pin 6 is right there at black. And that's it. We're done. So now we just put the box. We show it here. We grab this guy. And this guy. And then we do this. Okay, so now what we do is line these up. This is the 8 pin one. So what we do is just get in there like that. Rotate this tab is down. Just line everything up. Use this kind of like hold it. And then back down. And I'll do that the rest of them. I'll plug this guy in. And I will see you on the next part of the video. Okay, so now we're just going to make the plug-ins. So I got to take this off. This little guy comes off. Okay. And this little screw comes out. Need a smaller screwdriver for that. Okay, and this should twist and out. So now what I'm going to do is place it on here. Okay. Now what I want to do is run these wires through here, but first I'm going to put all the heat shrink stuff first. First the big one. So this is the CAN bus one, which is the one of the simpler ones, but it gives you an idea of how to make this connector. And the reason I do it like this with the heat shrink is you want to do it in step size. You'll see at the end. Okay, this goes through here like that. And then what we're going to do is cut these back a little bit. We're going to strip these. Okay, and then we look on our diagram, and brown and the 5 pin. Brown is pin 4, green is 5. So we're going to twist this guy around a little bit. Yep. So that's pin 4 and that's pin 5. So again, brown is 4. So let's tin that a little bit. And I put some flux on it first. Okay. And then we're going to put a little bit of heat shrink on it, just a short section. Make sure that's going to fit in one of the pins. we're good. Actually, I should have left it the way it was, because now I need about another 1/4 inch. Should do it. That guy's too long. And next thing we're going to do is move this there. Okay, so brown is 4. You got to be careful you don't start heat shrinking the wire, the heat shrinking that's on the wire. And this is but I'm holding with my fingertips, so I can kind of tell how much heat is on it. Okay, and then I could put the heat shrink on there. So the heat shrink is on. And this time we're going to use a flame. There you go. So next is we get this guy out of here. And we're going to do this guy first. Like so. Now this heat shrink has a glue in it, so it'll get a little stiff. But then you'll see why I got the silicone one, because this is only for a short section. So now we're going to put this back in here, and we twist it, line it up with the hole for the screw, grab the little grub screw or whatever you want to call this. This is just a regular screw actually. That goes in there. Okay, so that's that. And now what we're going to do is put this guy on. That goes on there. We're going to grab one of these screws first. It's good to magnetize the screwdrivers like I have here, otherwise this will be a pretty difficult thing to do, fiddling with something so small. Okay, get that one started. and then get this one started. Actually, I could tighten down already. Okay, so you tighten down on these. Now, if you could see, I could still pull on it, and I'm going to be pulling on the wires. So I don't want to do that. So how I get around that is I build it up. Okay. Build it up again. You can see the glue oozing out a little bit on the back end there. And then this is the silicone one, and the silicone one is going to go around the screws and everything. Like right here, you want to go past that point. So you're basically going to go past this. So that way, when you're pulling on it, trying to take it off, you got a little better handle of it, you know. Now this is silicone heat shrink, so it takes a lot of heat. And that's it. Now this thing is actually still pretty hot. But now when you're pulling on it, this is heat shrunk around there. Let me just heat it up a little bit more around there because it's got a metal mass and that takes away the heat. Let me just make sure it wraps around that. Okay. So that's it. Done. So I do the same thing on the other ones, and of course this goes on the 5-pin. Like that. And you screw this on, go about your regular tuning, and then when you're done you can take this off, and what I do is I stick them in here. I stick them inside. The smaller wires like this guy and the USB I'll put in here. The power cables and the wideband cable, they're too large, so they're not going to fit in here. But that's basically it. So here's what the connector for the wideband looks like. So let me see if I could. Yeah, that's about as zoomed in as it can go. But basically that's it. Okay, now one thing I didn't mention before that you want to do is make sure, let me zoom out. You want to make sure that when you plug this guy in here with the with that connector, before you heat shrink it and all that, so you just line up the tab to tab there, that the same color wires are in the same place. Okay, that they kind of line up. And as you can see there, the orange is the first, the orange is there, the white is there, the white is right below that, and so on. So yeah, they do line up. Red is on this side, and red is on this side, so everything is lining up. I just wanted to show here. I just wanted to show that. What I'm talking about is, you see this orange wire there? Well, that's the orange wire here, right there. And then the red one is over here, and the red one is over here. You can see it right there. So just make sure they all line up so you didn't make a mistake wiring it before you heat shrink it and put everything else back together. That's all. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is turn the power supply on. What I have here is an E30 ADCM. I have this, which is my MPVI 2. I have the CAN bus interface here in between them, and this is your regular port on the car, the OBD2 port. Okay, so I'm going to turn the power. Now this is powering up both the wideband and the ECM. The ECM switch is turned on already, so I'm just going to turn it on here. Okay, and wideband. I gotta wait for the wideband to heat up. It's almost ready. You always want to wait till the wideband gets ready, and then what I'm going to do here is start recording. And it did not work. So what you do is you shut it off. Okay, you go to connect to vehicle, then you go to vehicle and you go to repol, and then you start logging again, and now it shows up here, right here. So now if I take I'm going to take the O2, which is getting hot, and I'm going to just apply heat. I'm going to do it off camera though, and you'll see that the display reads pretty much the same. As what the O2 is reading. So that's the CAN bus input. So next we're going to do the serial input. So I have to switch over to a different ECU. I don't have to. I could still use the same one, but I want to show you that it works in serial with an older, like P59 and so on. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing, except for what I did is I have here an old P59, and it's going directly into the OBD2, and what I have is my serial coming out of here. That's the serial only, and that's going to my PC. So let's turn it on. Okay, both are on. So now what I'm going to do is connect. I already set these up, so I'm just going to connect, and then I'm going to repol the vehicle just to make sure, and then I'm going to hit start scanning, and you can see down here is where the air fuel is. So if I take it and I heat it up again, I think I'm out of gas. You can see it's reading the same as whatever the wideband is reading. And so that way you don't use the analog output at all, and you have a good digital, solid signal going into the scanner, whether you're tuning something that's older or newer. Now one box does both, and that's the advantage of doing it this way. All right, see you on the next one.